You're just scrolling through your phone, not expecting much, maybe checking a few messages when suddenly one pops up. Hey stranger, how have you been? Or worse, you came to mind today. And just like that, everything shifts. Your heart pauses for a second, and a strange mix of emotions surges all at once. Confusion, curiosity, maybe even a spark of hope. Because it's him. The man who once disappeared without warning, without a single explanation. The same man who made you question yourself. Was I too much? Did I scare him off? Was it something I did? You read the message again, and then again. Not because you're eager to reply, but because part of you can't believe he's actually dared to return. And the other part? The other part is just tired. Tired of these cycles, tired of the emotional spin. In that moment, the silence doesn't come from him. It comes from you. And your silence says more than any words could. It's a silence full of memories, questions, doubts, and the aching awareness that, if you're not careful, you might fall into the same trap that once broke your heart. But what does this message really mean? Has he changed? Has he finally realized what you're worth, or is he simply checking if the door's still open? If you're still there, waiting, hoping, willing to give again what he never truly valued in the first place? This is where your reflection begins, and not with bitterness but with wisdom. Because what many women have learned the hard way is this: not every man who comes back does so because he sees your value. Sometimes he just wants to see if he still has access. So, before you reply, before you even let his words sit in your chest, pause. Because today we're going to talk about emotionally unavailable men. Not to shame them, but to understand. Because when you understand, you choose differently. And when you choose with self-love, everything changes. There's a pattern that repeats itself far more often than we'd like to admit. One day he's there, charming, attentive, asking about your day, sending little jokes and hints that he might want something more serious. And then suddenly, he's gone. No argument. No farewell, not even a vague excuse, just silence. You stare at your phone, wondering if he's all right, if something happened, or if maybe, just maybe, it's you. You go over every conversation in your head, scanning for signs. Did you say something wrong? Were you too open? Too interested? The doubt creeps in, slowly eroding your confidence. Days pass, sometimes weeks, maybe even months, and then, as if nothing happened, he reappears. Hey, sorry, I've been busy. You just crossed my mind, and that moment, brief as it is, hits you like a wave, because your heart remembers. A part of you wants to believe it means something, that maybe this time he's realized what he walked away from. But before you fall back into old hopes, take a breath. Let me ask you something personal, and you can share it in the comments if it resonates. Has this ever happened to you? Have you ever had someone vanish just when things felt like they were beginning, only to return like nothing happened? If so, what did you do? Did you reply, or did you hold your ground? I'd love to hear your story, because what you're feeling, many others have felt too. And your experience might be exactly what another woman needs to read today. Also, if you're finding this conversation valuable, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. We talk about things here that others avoid, truths that heal, not just soothe, and stay with me until the very end of this video, because I've saved a message that I believe every woman deserves to hear, something that might just shift how you see these patterns forever. Now let's take a closer look at what these messages really are, and why some men send them without ever truly meaning a word. It seems harmless, doesn't it? A simple message, like "you popped into my head today," or "I miss talking to you." It's short, vague, even sweet on the surface, but underneath there's a hidden tension, because he isn't really saying anything. He's not asking how you truly are. He's not expressing remorse or clarity, or any intent to fix what he broke. He's just testing the waters. This kind of message isn't a bridge, it's bait. It's the emotional equivalent of casting a line and seeing if you'll bite. It's not love, it's curiosity, it's ego. Because if he really cared, his words would come with actions. His message wouldn't be a distant echo of the past. It would be a clear and honest attempt to rebuild. But it never is it? Men who behave like this often aren't trying to reconnect. They're trying to reassure themselves. They want to confirm that they still matter, that despite everything they can still take up space in your heart, that they still have emotional access to you without having to do the real work of showing up. Carl Jung once said, "What you give attention to grows." And if you give attention to empty gestures, you'll find yourself growing more confused, more emotionally drained, more uncertain with every reply. Because you're feeding something that was never meant to bloom. You're nurturing a connection. That doesn't truly nurture you. That's why it's so important to pause before responding. Ask yourself, is this message opening a door, or simply poking it to see if it's unlocked? If it doesn't come with clarity, commitment, and consistency, it's not a message of love, it's a reflex, a habit, a way to keep you emotionally tethered without offering anything real in return. And here's the hardest truth to accept. His message says more about his ego than it does about his heart. He's not showing you that he's grown. He's showing you that he still doesn't know what he wants, but wants to be sure you're still there just in case. It starts to wear you down, doesn't it? That slow, steady erosion of your emotional energy. Because with him, you're always the one who replies. You're always the one who listens, who comforts, who makes space when he suddenly appears with a story, a problem, a bad day. And you, kind, loving, hopeful, become the safe place he turns to when life isn't going his way. But the moment he feels better, the moment his world steadies again, he vanishes. Back into the silence as if you were never there. This isn't occasional disinterest. This is a pattern, a rhythm of selfish presence followed by careless absence, a dynamic where you're emotionally available, but he only shows up when it suits him. You offer support, he takes it. You offer warmth, he absorbs it. But when you need something, he's distant, distracted, or just gone. And maybe the most painful part, it didn't start this way. In the beginning, he was engaged, responsive, even attentive. But once he knew your heart was open, once he felt safe in your affection, he stopped trying, because he believed you would keep showing up even if he only gave you half of himself. Carl Jung once said, "You should never beg for love, attention, or affection. If it doesn't come freely, it's not worth having." And that's the truth we often avoid, hoping things will change, thinking love is just around the corner if we hang on a little longer. But love doesn't come from someone who disappears when they're no longer in need. Love stays. It listens. It offers, not just takes. You deserve more than a relationship based on convenience, more than being someone's backup plan when life gets hard, because that isn't love. It's emotional exploitation dressed up as affection, and it leaves you tired, questioning, wondering why giving so much still feels so empty. If this sounds familiar, it's not because you're asking for too much. It's because you've been giving too much to someone who gives too little. There comes a point in many of these relationships where you finally gather the courage to speak, not to argue, not to attack, but to be honest, to express how you feel, to ask for clarity, to draw a line where you've been hurt. And how does he respond? Not with empathy, not with maturity, but with deflection, withdrawal, or subtle blame. He shifts the focus, turns the mirror around, and suddenly you're the problem. You're too emotional. You're overreacting again. You always make a big deal out of nothing. What began as an attempt to connect becomes a moment where your truth is weaponized against you. This isn't random. It's a form of emotional avoidance, a refusal to engage with the discomfort of being held accountable. And worse still, it's manipulation. Because now you find yourself questioning your tone, your timing, your feelings. You start to wonder if you're too sensitive, if maybe you are overthinking. But here's what Carl Jung so wisely said. You've been criticizing yourself for years and it hasn't worked. Try approving of yourself and see what happens. You are not too much. You are not dramatic for wanting honesty. Wanting to be heard in a relationship is not a crime. It's a necessity. A man who truly wants to build something with you doesn't shut down when things get uncomfortable. He leans in. He listens. He values your vulnerability, even if it's hard to hear. But the emotionally immature man, he hides behind victimhood. He says he's the one being attacked. He makes his discomfort the focus, so that you're the one left feeling guilty. And just like that, your voice begins to shrink. You start speaking less, asking less, needing less, Not because you don't feel, but because every time you do, it comes with punishment, with silence, with distance. That's not love. That's a relationship where only one person is allowed to feel safe, and it's not you, and you deserve far more than that. There comes a moment, a quiet but powerful shift, when something inside you finally wakes up. Maybe it's not loud. Maybe it doesn't come with tears or anger. Maybe it's just a calm, steady realization that you can't keep doing this, that waiting for him to change, to show up properly, to see you fully, is costing you something, far too precious yourself, and in that moment you begin to choose differently, not from hurt, but from healing, not from fear, but from love, self-love. You stop asking why he disappears. You stop wondering what you did wrong, because deep down, you know, a man who vanishes in your moments of need isn't confused. He's careless. A man who reappears only when life feels empty doesn't want connection. He wants comfort. And you are not here to be someone's emotional crutch. You are not someone's just in case. Carl Jung reminds us, until you value yourself, you won't value your time. Until you value your time, you will not do anything with it. When you choose yourself, you also choose how your time is spent, how your heart is held, and who gets access to your energy. And that choice changes everything, because from that moment forward you stop answering vague messages. You stop explaining your worth to someone who never asked to understand it. You stop hoping that love will arrive, disguised as silence, confusion, or emotional crumbs. You start recognizing that peace feels better than uncertainty. That clarity is worth more than charm. That a man who truly values you doesn't vanish when it gets inconvenient. He stays, he shows up, and he chooses you even when it's difficult. And if right now you're still hurting, still doubting, still feeling something for him, that's okay. Healing isn't perfect, but every step you take towards your own heart is a victory. Every time you choose not to reply to what once broke you, you're rebuilding your story. And before we end, here's the message I promised. You are not here to be an option. You are here to be chosen, wholly and courageously. And the first person who must choose you is you.